Sri Lanka might be one of the most underrated countries we've ever traveled to and is certainly a country we'll be visiting again. In one trip, you can climb ancient rock fortresses, go on safari with elephants, learn to cook delicious local food, surf tropical beaches, and take one of the most beautiful train rides in the world. After spending 2 weeks traveling across this incredible island, we've put together our top 10 favorite things to do, and honestly, a few of these completely surprised us. One thing to note before we jump in, getting around Sri Lanka takes time. Distances might look small on a map, but the roads are slow and windy, so we'd recommend either hiring a driver or planning your route carefully. Anyway, let's start off strong with one of the most iconic places in the country, Lion's Rock in Sigiriya. This place is insane and probably the coolest thing to witness in all of Sri Lanka. It's a massive rock rising almost 200 meters out of the jungle, and at the top are the ruins of an ancient palace built over 1500 years ago. We got there early in the morning. Entrance was $35 per adult, which we booked on the spot. Another tip is go as early as possible to avoid the heat and the crowds, because it gets very hot and busy later in the day. The climb itself is an experience. You've got narrow staircases, ancient frescoes, and these huge lion paws carved into the rock. It was low-key terrifying for little Claire, who is quite scared of heights. But when you reach the top, it's just endless jungle in every direction and the sounds of nature below. It's a very peaceful and calming experience. But beyond Lion's Rock itself, we thoroughly enjoyed the area of Sigiriya. It reminded us so of South Africa. Open plains, peacocks everywhere, nature, and the chance to spot the odd elephant. It's just overall a very healing place to be. We stayed at a proper hidden gem called Kumbhakaha Villa, booked by our wonderful travel agency, India Someday, who planned our whole trip. The service, food, and vibes were phenomenal, and it was such a good start to our trip. 2 to 3 nights here is a must. From the jungle to the coast, this is Hiriketiya Beach. Crystal blue waters, golden beaches, palm trees, smoothie bowls, and all the vibes. Quite possibly our favorite place in Sri Lanka. We spent 3 nights in this little town, but could have easily stayed for a month. It really reminded us of Bali back in the day. It's relaxed and down to earth, just what we like. There are cafes everywhere, great food, beautiful villas, and the water is perfect for both swimming and beginner surfing. We stayed at the Yard, only 50 meters from the beach. It had an amazingly comfortable room with AC, good high-speed internet, and shared living spaces just like what you find in Bali. You can watch our full Beaches in Sri Lanka video to see what we got up to during our time in Hiriketiya. We will certainly be back in the future for a month of co-working, yoga, surfing, and just pure blissful vibes. Speaking of co-working, the internet in Sri Lanka is not the greatest, and neither are the local SIM cards. So if you're someone like us who relies on being connected at all times for things like work, content creation, emails, and staying in touch with friends and family, then you'll definitely benefit from an Holafly eSIM. Holafly gives you unlimited data in over 200 destinations worldwide, and everything is done through their website or the app on your phone. There's no need for physical local SIM cards and no need to take your existing SIM out. It's all done digitally. You simply browse the app, purchase the eSIM for your number of days and destination. They even have regional eSIMs if you're planning to hop between nearby countries. You install the eSIM before your trip, activate it when you land, and boom, instant unlimited connection to navigate your way around a foreign country. No SIM shops, no language barriers, no stress. Plus, you can even hotspot to other devices, making remote work much easier. So if you're planning a trip soon and want stress-free internet from day one, we can highly recommend Holafly. We'll leave their link in the description for you, or you can scan the QR code on the screen now for a discount. Thank you Holafly for sponsoring this video. Next up, a safari in Yala National Park. This was one of the biggest surprises of our trip and a highlight of our time. We went on 2 beautiful safaris at sunrise and sunset each day. We got to see some incredible birds, buffalo, elephants, deer, and even got to meet Baloo from the Jungle Book in real life. And guess what? He was exactly the same. Obsessed with ants and honey. Just so epic. But what made it the best experience was actually staying in an eco safari camp called Treetops Jungle Lodge. set deep in the jungle surrounded by wild elephants trumpeting throughout the night. That was where the magic was. Truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. There are only 3 or 4 glamping tents on this property, so it's super bespoke and you get the choice of either doing a sunrise or sunset safari or doing one full day safari. We chose to split ours and it was great. They served 3 meals a day, all traditional Sri Lankan vegetarian meals packed with flavor and heritage. The healing we got from this place was unreal. It felt like something straight out of a National Geographic documentary. Yala National Park is also famous for having the highest density of leopards. We were unfortunate not seeing one of them, but the chances are very high in this area. The park is massive and it's split into blocks. Treetop Jungle Lodge offers safaris in Block 5, where there are far less vehicles and tourists than the other blocks. As 2 South Africans who are very familiar with safaris, we were so impressed. A quick note, we always recommend choosing ethical wildlife experiences like this, where animals are seen in the wild rather than in captivity. Number 4, and back up in the mountains, this is the famous 9-arch bridge in the town of Yala. You've probably seen this on Instagram with the train passing through the jungle covered arches. And yes, it is as good in real life. We were honestly surprised. The bridge is located in a very popular area which kind of reminds us of Ubud in Bali. There are waterfalls everywhere, mountains and jungle, Zen cafes and Instagram boutiques. We didn't get to stay here and only just visited for the day, but we'd honestly recommend you stay in this area for a night or 2. It gives you time to explore the main attractions like the bridge and waterfalls early without the crowds. There are cutesy cafes in the area to grab a proper coffee. We really struggled to find good coffee in Sri Lanka, by the way. And there are good restaurants too if you are getting over the Sri Lankan cuisine a bit and need a burger. You can do some shopping, go on a yoga retreat, or just chill out in the jungle at your pool. We visited the bridge at a time where we could watch the train roll through, and seeing it slowly curve around the bridge with the jungle around it is such a cool moment. The walk to the train is like a mini nature hike too, and it's so underrated. We even saw some naughty monkeys. Overall, it's a very cool spot. Number 5. Sri Lanka is world famous for its tea, and the best place to experience it is in the hills around Nuwara, Eliya. Up here, everything feels completely different to the coast. The air is cooler, the mornings are misty, and the rolling green plantations stretch as far as the eye can see. Sri Lanka was once called Ceylon, which is why you've probably heard of Ceylon tea. So being here, seeing how it's produced right at the source felt pretty iconic. The tea industry dates back to the 1800s during British colonial rule, when coffee crops were wiped out by disease and replaced with tea plantations, which went on to become one of the country's biggest exports. Today, it's still a huge part of the country's identity. We visited the Bluefields Tea Factory where we learned exactly how tea is made, from leaf to cup, and of course finished it off with a tasting. There are so many different plantations you can visit in this region, and many of them offer beautiful accommodation right on the estates. We'd highly recommend spending a few nights here to fully experience it. Some great areas to base yourself are Yala, Haputale, and of course Nuwara Eliya itself, each offering slightly different views and experiences across the tea country. It's scenic, it's immersive, and it's one of those places that naturally slows your pace and makes you appreciate where you are. Number 6, back to the coast, and one of the most fun things we did, a surf lesson, dude. Sri Lanka is actually one of the best places in the world to learn how to surf, especially in areas like Weligama and Hiriketiya. The conditions here are perfect for beginners. Gentle, rolling waves, sandy bottoms, and warm water all year round. Add to that the super friendly instructors, and it's a really easy place to get started. Even if you've never surfed before, there's a good chance you'll be standing up by the end of your first lesson. I did a lesson in Weligama. It cost about $40 for 1.5 hours. It came with the surfboard, the suit, and the instructor. It was my first time surfing, and by the end of it, they had me standing up more than 10 times. There are tons of surf schools along the beach, but we went with one of the highest rated, Amma Surf School, and had a great experience. Sri Lanka also has a big surf and stay culture where you can book packages that include accommodation, lessons, and a social atmosphere. Places like Klima Surf are great for meeting people, improving your surfing, and having a really comfortable place to stay. Number 7. One of the most unexpected highlights for us was doing a local cooking class. Sri Lankan food is incredible. It's so flavorful, so fresh, and this was such a fun way to experience it on a deeper level. We learned how to make 4 different traditional curries, along with coconut sambal and roti, all completely from scratch. And the best part, you get to eat everything at the end and go home with the recipes. A lot of these classes actually start with a trip to a local market or garden where you learn about the ingredients, spices, and how everything is sourced, which makes the whole experience even more immersive. It's such a simple experience, but it gives you a real connection to the culture and the people. There are cooking classes all over Sri Lanka in places like Sigiriya, Eliya, and along the coast. We ended up doing ours at our guest house in Habutale, which felt super local and personal. 10 out of 10 would highly recommend. Number 8. If you can, don't just do one safari. Sri Lanka has over 20 national parks and wildlife reserves, all offering completely different safari experiences. The most popular ones are Yala National Park, Udawalawe National Park, and Minneriya National Park. Along with Yala, we also visited Minneriya, which is located near Sigiriya, and this park is especially known for its elephants. So if elephants are what you're hoping to see, this is an absolute must. We saw entire herds walking freely, crossing roads, interacting with each other, and even babies playing around. It was honestly incredible. Minneriya is also famous for something called the Gathering, where hundreds of elephants come together around the reservoir during dry season. It's one of the largest elephant gatherings in the world. Every safari here feels completely different, from the landscapes to the animals you encounter, which is why it's worth doing more than one if you have the time. One downside though is the crowds. Some areas can get really busy, honestly more than we've ever seen on a safari before. And if you're sensitive to that, it's worth doing a bit of research beforehand. As we mentioned earlier, quieter areas like Block 5 in Yala National Park can offer a much better experience, although you'll see a lot less elephants. Number 9. Now this is probably one of the most famous experiences in Sri Lanka, the train ride from Kandy to Yala. And we'll say it didn't quite live up to the hype, but it's still something you should experience at least once in Sri Lanka. The train winds through the mountains, tea plantations, waterfalls, and tiny villages, and the views really don't stop. It's often ranked as one of the most scenic train rides in the world, and on a clear day, it's easy to see why. Now, the reality, we wish we could have spent most of the journey sitting at the open doorway, watching the scenery go by, but the truth is, everyone and their mother is now a content creator trying to get that viral shot. It ended up being complete mayhem on the train and a constant fight for a spot, so we just sat in our chairs and enjoyed the view from the window. But if you can ignore that side of it, grab a seat, maybe a cold beer, and just enjoy the scenery, it's still a really cool experience. The full journey from Kandy to Yala takes around 6 to 8 hours depending on delays. Tickets can be incredibly cheap, sometimes as little as $2 to $15 depending on the class. They do sell out fast, so most travelers end up booking through agents or their accommodation. You've got 3 main options. First class, reserved seats, air conditioned but windows and doors are closed. Second class, open windows and doors, reserved or unreserved seating. This is the most popular option. Third class, which is the cheapest, most local experience, but it's very crowded. Our agency actually suggested that we do a shorter section, which was about 1.5 hours from Nona Oya to Habutale in second class. We're still glad we did it for ourselves. It's one of those classic Sri Lankan experiences you kind of have to tick off. And finally, something simple but essential, slow days on the beach. Sri Lanka is the kind of place where you don't want to rush. Some of our favorite moments were the simplest ones, sitting at a cafe, watching the waves roll in, sunset dinners by the ocean, and doing absolutely nothing. And honestly, that's when Sri Lanka really hits you. With over 1,500 kilometers of coastline, there are so many different beaches and seaside towns to explore, each with its own vibe. We visited Hiriketiya, Weligama, Ahangama, Marissa, and Hiriketiya, and the coast ended up being our favorite part of the country. Hiriketiya for laid-back bay vibes, Weligama for surfing, Ahangama for cafes and aesthetic stays, Marissa for beach clubs and nightlife, and Hiriketiya for a more lively backpacker feel. We did have a few bad weather days which can make certain towns feel a bit quiet or even gloomy, so timing your trip is important. If you visit between December and April, especially along the south coast, you'll get those perfect beach days, sunshine, calm seas, and a proper summer vibe. There's also plenty to do if you want more than just relaxing. You can go snorkeling, spot sea turtles, try out beach clubs, or just spend your days hopping between cafes and hidden coves. But don't overplan it. Leave space to slow down, because that's when this place really becomes special. And that's it for our top 10. Sri Lanka completely blew us away. It's one of those countries where every few days feels like a different destination entirely. Mountains, jungle, beaches, wildlife, all in one trip. If you're planning a trip here, we hope this video helped you decide what to add to your itinerary. And if you want to see exactly how we spent 2 weeks traveling through Sri Lanka, make sure to check out our full Sri Lanka series on the screen now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.